Newcastle-on-Tyne, the ITV Television company is Tyne Tees. The new extension to their studio has an unusual feature, a transparent covered walkway that leads to the entrance. It's this which has given a name to a programme they make for Channel 4, The Tube. Today, there are just 3 days to go before a 5-hour live transmission.
I suppose it all began because when I was setting up the children's department here, we found that obviously we were featuring a lot of pop videos. We started talking to a lot of children and young people about the kind of programmes they wanted to see. And one of the things that emerged very fast within the region was that they wanted their own programme.
The way the sort of rock music scene was on British television at the time was that there was Top of the Pops, which was very much chart-based, balloons, a pop party for kids. And on the other hand, you had the Old Grey Whistle Test, which was very sort of laid back and very self-conscious and very American orientated. And we wanted to try and just sort of put the cat amongst the pigeons and try a few things out. And one of the things I'm very grateful to Channel 4 for is the fact that they did give us that freedom.
What we've done is we've taken a rock gig philosophy and thought through in television terms. So we're not pretending, we're not saying we're covering live. It's not Rock Goes to College. I mean, they're not performing in a proscenium arch somewhere. They're in a television studio, but a television studio that's run like a rock gig. So if you like, we've married the best of both worlds. So we've got the whole kind of rock stage management thing, all the bits and pieces that go with this, funny little passes. I mean, the whole thing is run very much the same way as perhaps a gig at Hammersmith Palais or the Apollo in Glasgow would be run.
If there was any model for the Tube, it was Ready, Steady, Go, broadcast back in the 60s.
I mean, the Tube was certainly modelled a little bit on the sort of energy and vitality that Ready, Steady, Go had. The only memory I've got of Ready, Steady, Go is watching James Brown, and when he did this sort of incredible stage routine of falling on the floor. I mean, Mum switched the television off. And I remember bombing down the street to a mate's house and tearing in and hoping that he had it on, and there he was, and we all sort of huddled around feeling really furtive. And I hope that there's an element of that with a Tube.
We were convinced from the word go, it must be live. That was one way of guaranteeing that it sparked every week. But we also, really from the experience we'd had with the Teenage Magazine show, were very keen to put together a programme that was an alternative world for kids who were watching it, that included comment, humour, magazine items, and the live music. And from that came the decision that we would, in a sense, split the programme into two and build from 5:15 with a number of magazine items, general interest items, so kids coming in from school, coming in from work, some of them, could switch on and join. And from 6 o'clock on, it would be a rock show. It would take off, if you like, and would run and build to the end at 7 o'clock.
Have you got the clipboard, Betty?
In the office, the production team are hard at work making last-minute arrangements, from booking hotels to fixing technical requirements.
Do you have any idea? Good. About the helicopter for this week, just to say that the contract is off to your registered post today, so you'll definitely have that tomorrow. In the couple of days before the programme goes out, the thing which pulls it all together is this, which is the Tube running order. Now, for the Midsummer Night's Tube, which is a 5-hour long programme, we have, at the last count, 79 items in it. Now, all of those items either have to be scripted or edited, or there might be bits of video or bits of film, and they have to go through quite a complicated process of going through a cutting room, having sound dubbed onto them and all of that. So my job really is to pull all of these different strands together, and hopefully on Friday night the whole thing will come together as a programme.
The production team get together with the presenters for the first time to go over the running order and make decisions.
It's a bit of fun, actually. And in the same way that you're going in the powerboat, James Bond style, you actually end up at the Hoppings. Happened to find Claire Grogan there.
I don't understand what she's doing there, really.
It's a bit of a red herring because she's not appearing on the programme.
I don't understand, really. Why there shouldn't be just lots of me.
Some people have criticised the Tube as being a bit anarchic and not knowing what direction it's going in. But in terms of a structured programme, it is very tightly structured. These 79 items in the running order are all very tightly timed, edited and put together to make the whole thing a package. But within that, we allow the presenters to ad-lib within a certain time in the programme. They can ad-lib and do whatever they like. So that, in fact, gives it the effect of being anarchic and being a bit disorganised. It's actually built in. I mean, we build in that effect.
In a viewing room, film director Jeff Wanfor shows his film on Duran Duran to Channel 4's Mike Bolan. He's included a sequence showing Jules Holland at the piano.
But it's so good.
I don't think a lot of people that watch the Tube actually realise you can't actually play like that.
The films are constructed with a great deal of care, and they're done, some of them, like for example the Duran Duran film, has been shot in places like one would approach shooting a video, but with a different sort of style, and quite a lot of new television technologies brought to bear on those sort of things.
I have a cameraman called Mr. Graham Brown, who we both discuss it basically, and we walk in the rooms and go through every shot that you normally would. Like we'll have a wide shot from here, medium shot from there, close up. We can light, we can key from here, backlight from there, and we go through everything we know. Then we just put it in one corner. Say, right, that's what we would normally do with it. Now, what can we give to it?
Well, it's still a mystery tour, and as you can see, it's a pretty exciting one. We're up here in the old chopper at the moment, the big chopper, and my first time up in a helicopter, in fact. Into the chateau, the mysterious chateau, and we'll find out exactly who is staying here. Opening the door. Of course, flight cases rather give the game away that it is in fact a group staying here. A group that when you see them will have in fact needed no introduction whatsoever. A group probably bigger than any other group in the world at the moment. For the uninitiated, it's... But maybe it's a little unfair to give you such a brief glimpse, so maybe we should just take a moment and look back over what we've done. It's...
I hope that we've got a fairly democratic structure on the team. The one thing that there definitely is not on the Tube is a sort of a hierarchy of producer, director, researcher, trainee researcher. The way that it tends to take is if somebody feels strongly about a certain band or an item, they'll come in and bang the table, and the chances are that it'll appear on the screen. And very often, we've had bands on the Tube that I haven't particularly warmed to personally, but because of the feeling from the researchers that we have actually put them on.
It's a combination of all sorts of things. Finding bands that fit into the Tube as a programme, which means constant contact with the music business in London, going around being talent scouts in a way. That's what's quite exciting about it, because you're in the prediction game, you're taking a chance sometimes.
When it actually comes onto the day, you're dealing a lot of the time with a lot of very, shall we say, sensitive egos. And so the sort of Henry Kissinger diplomacy school comes out, and you have to deal with people who, in many contexts, are used to getting things very much their own way, and want as much elbow room as they can.
When they hear that you've been filming with Duran Duran and David Bowie in the south of France, everybody immediately thinks that it's almost like a paid holiday. Obviously, there are luxuries in doing things like that, but it is work.
2 days to go before transmission, and the video editor is at work late into the evening preparing the opening credits. Like all the pre-recorded material, it will be assembled onto insert tapes. These will be played when needed during transmission and introduced by the presenters from the studio.
Was that a bounce or featuring?
No, that was just the edit going in.
All right, can you run it from the top so Carol can get a timing on it?
Okay. We'll check the other edits as we go.
The major decisions are now made, and the presenters meet up with the production team to be briefed on the background to the groups. Some presenters like to write their scripts out in detail, while others prefer to ad-lib.
I don't actually know what I'm going to do as I come in here each week. I come up once a week to do this. And everybody here has lots of things that they plan out, and the technical things take hours and hours to plan out. But really, I think because of its liveness and the spontaneity of it, it would be silly to plan anything, because you never know. I mean, somebody might die of a heroin overdose on the stage, or somebody might give birth. I mean, as we nearly had in the last series. So really, I think my role is just as a fail-safe, really, because then if all the electricity went and the bands couldn't play, I could just tell jokes or something like that, I suppose.
Well, if you make an error on the tube, it's gone. It's gone a second afterwards. I mean, I've done real whoppers in the last series. Everyone has. And in actual fact, people who are watching it quite enjoy them, as long as they're not too long-winded, because it gets irritating. But if something just happens, it's quite nice to realise that people on telly are fallible, because watching TV, normally you imagine that they're kind of superhuman and that nothing ever goes wrong. It's like seeing Esther Ransom with her rollers in. It always makes you feel much better. You know, it's this comforting thought that they get spots too.
The influence I have is where there's somebody to interview or something like that. If I feel as though they're the wrong person, then it doesn't happen. Or if I feel as though that's the wrong thing for me to do, then I won't do it. Out of principle, because if I don't want to look stupid, you know. So that's my influence, really. But most of the people suggest things, and if they're a good idea, then we do them, really. And occasionally I'll think of a good idea and I'll do that. Not very often, though. That's not really my forte.
It just doesn't follow that because you're in a band, you're going to have an enormously high IQ and be very articulate. You might be on a record, but you're not in person. And I think that's a bit of a problem, because you often get them and you open with your opening question and you suddenly realise it is the red ear situation, which means that my ear goes completely purple with absolute abject terror, because I realise that they're actually going to give me one-word answers. And that's the one thing any interviewer is just, it's rigor mortis time, because you say, you know, tell me about your new video, which I once asked Bananarama, and there's 3 of them, and they went yes, in unison. It was like the Beverly Sisters.
On the studio floor, the roadies are bringing in their group's equipment. The floor manager organises this end of things. Groups have to be ready to go on time. And on the night, there are 200 to 300 people in the audience which the cameras have to manoeuvre between. Yet the aim is to produce an effect which has all the informality of a live concert.
Basically what we do on the stage is, for to get a good sort of lighting effect with the beams of the lights, we play smoke on the stages. We find it gives a nice sort of smoky atmosphere, club atmosphere, and you can get obviously very good lighting effects with smoke. I think we'll go.
And goodbye.
The studio element is different because, for a start, we're working with 7 cameras, so there's a tremendous range of shots. There's also a tremendous amount of energy comes out of the crews working here, so that transmits itself.
I'm the director on the Tube, and it's my job as director to coordinate and utilise all the technical facilities that I have available to me in the spectrum of the television system, and turn the producers' ideas and requests into pictures. Well, this is the studio control room, like the sort of brain area of the studio complex, where all the different facilities are channeled, whether they be VTR or camera inputs or whatever, and they all finish up on a final sort of mixed state on the screen. When bands are playing live in the studio, they tend to alter the perhaps an 8-bar break suddenly might turn into a 12-bar guitar break. And if you're too stylized in your sort of television coverage of that, you tend to get rather lost. So it's better to always expect the unexpected.
Camera rehearsals give the technical team a chance to go over basic shots. But in the past, some groups have appeared with no studio rehearsal at all.
Another change is that Muriel is now doing the link with Boy George.
I think we're on about our 3rd or 4th running order, because it's live and things are changing from minute to minute, in fact. And trying to make sure that all the inserts and the pre-recorded material is all in order on the various insert tapes that will be coming into the studio, and just trying to coordinate and make sure that we're to grips with what's going to happen tomorrow night.
The great day of transmission arrives. This is when all the planning will be put to the test. Now it's a question of final adjustments and a chance for the presenters to rehearse their pieces to camera.
Well, there's something yucky that they do in hospital, and it could be for all I care. But when a lot of journalists reach for their dictionaries every week, they'll probably come up with some clever dick word like that to describe who we've got on next. Malcolm McLaren. Now, it's been said that Malcolm McLaren could make a dance craze out of a dog's bum with a hat on. Probably, thankfully, he hasn't, but he has given us these.
There's a lot of silly talk about live telly, because live television is perfectly possible. It's just a question of being organised. There are a lot of people who think, oh, well, why put it out live if you can record it? But in fact, you get a different spirit in a live programme. If we recorded the Tube, which we could do, we could record it on a Thursday night, put it out on Friday, you would get a completely different feeling in the studio. You get a different sense of deadlines, and deadlines actually cause adrenaline to flow, and therefore people respond more to that, and your presenters respond, and you get a better performance from your presenters, and also a better performance from your studio, really.
The cameramen gather round to listen to the director on talkback and make final changes. And still, there are decisions to be made.
The helicopter was supposed to come up from Southend yesterday, and it broke down. No, it didn't break down. It had a radio problem on the way up, and there was also very low cloud and fog in Newcastle, so it wasn't able to get here. Now, that meant that we weren't able to rehearse it last night, which was a bit of a problem because it's quite a complex operation getting pictures and sound from the helicopter. So the helicopter, I believe, I've just been told, has now arrived. We are hoping to rehearse it later this afternoon, and if the worst comes to the worst, we'll have to rehearse it in the hour before the programme goes on the air, between 7 and 8 o'clock. So that could be quite an interesting little last-minute thing to be done. But everything's going well. As you can see here, we're getting the barbecue area rigged up. Jane, our designer, is working overtime. The weather is the main thing that we're all keeping our fingers crossed that it's sunny weather, because it will make such a difference.
There's just 1 hour to go now before transmission. Performers are getting themselves ready and go into makeup for the finishing touches. Outside the Tube entrance, the audience gathers to watch the celebrities arrive.
Huh? Can you double Dutch, Peggy?
And at last, the helicopter is ready to rehearse that important opening shot.
There he goes, look. World of his own, man in a helicopter.
So the priority of this thing is to get the pictures right while we stand here.
It's not as easy as it looks at television. You think, oh, well, there you go. They get loads of money and they do all this and it's all easy, but it's not, you see. It's falling apart. Hundreds of those. The helicopter up there costs £5,000 alone, and they can't even see us. Can't even see us.
From the helicopter.
Channel 4 have supplied me with a fantastic vehicle, which they said I should have liked a chauffeur-driven vehicle, so they supplied me with this fabulous Jeep here, which I'm going to go with. I'm going to give Christine, the floor manager, the microphone. How long have we got, Christine?
You've got about 15 seconds.
Oh, I have 15 seconds.
45 seconds, actually. 45.
Oh, 45 seconds. That's a different thing altogether. What you're also going to see is me going to somewhere very mysterious, somewhere where even I can't... Oh, let's go now.
The doors of the studio are opened and the audience comes in. It's just a few minutes to the beginning of transmission. What happens in the next 5 hours will show just how well all that planning has worked.
Seconds to going on air.
Stand by, everyone.
25. 20 seconds.
It's a marathon, this.
15 seconds.
We'll live to see the end of it. 24
10
hours
seconds.
next year, yeah.
9, 8, 7. Roll
Stand
VTR
by.
1, 5, 4, 3,
WBT1
2,
the titles.
1, 0. 144 on titles.
Stand by, Jules, at the entrance with the helicopter. Coming to the remote 8 on the helicopter. Jules is there. Fine. Best of luck.
Welcome to the Tube's fantastic summer special, the biggest rock and roll event ever to be seen on television as we know it, bigger even than when Meg Richardson died horribly in Crossroads. In this building behind me, extremely exciting things are going to happen like you've never ever seen in your lives before tonight. But frankly, I've got far better things to do than dilly-dally about with rock stars and that sort of thing. Channel 4 have given me their chairman's limousine and I'm going to go off and do something mysterious and bizarre because that's the kind of guy I am. I'd like you to take this while I go off somewhere bizarre.